Good day, everybody. Sergeant Crypto here. It's time for Ethereum Fundamentals. You're watching Crypto Team 6. So grab a cup of coffee and let's get started. If you like what you see, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also like our Facebook page and join the conversation by joining the Crypto Team 6 Facebook group. You can follow us on Twitter, and we always want to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. You can really help the channel by sharing this video on all your social media feeds. You can leave us a tip of 0.01 Litecoin to keep the channel going. Thank you for watching. By the way, did you know that every day we take 1/2 of the value in our Exodus wallet and divide it into 3 parts? We then draw 3 Litecoin addresses from the tips that were given on the previous day. The first address gets 50%, the second address gets 30%, and the third address gets 20% of the proceeds. This is our way of giving back to the community that supports us. Keep watching, and thank you for your continued support. Sergeant Crypto. Good day, everybody. Welcome back. Sergeant Crypto here. Today's topic is Ethereum. I'm going to start with the Ethereum website, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at CoinMarketCap. As you know, CoinMarketCap lists all of the cryptos in the crypto space. As you can see, Ethereum is number 2. At the time of this video, it's right at $954. Today's volume was just over $3.25 billion. It's up a little bit. The total outstanding circulating supply of Ethereum is 97 million Ether, as the token is called. Remember that. The token for Ethereum is Ether, and its symbol is ETH. You can go a little deeper if you'd like into looking at this. If you look at Ethereum, we get a quick summary. They've got a website, an announcement board, a blockchain explorer, a message board, a chat board, and their source code, since it is an open source platform. Its current rank is number 2 in the world of crypto, which is right behind Bitcoin. If you look at a long-term chart, you can see it's had a nice rise, and there's a reason for that, and I'll get into those reasons very shortly. We have seen a pullback. We saw a high of about almost $1,300 per Ether, and now we're down back to about 900. So we've had a big sell-off in the past couple of weeks or so, but Ethereum has held up in comparison to Bitcoin and many others who have lost 50, 60%. Ethereum has lost 25, close to 30%. So it's holding up a little better. And you might ask yourself why. Well, when you look at the platform and you look at Ethereum as a project, you'll probably see. So let's leave CoinMarketCap for the moment and go to the Ethereum website. And you'll notice that Ethereum is really not a cryptocurrency at all. What Ethereum is it's, I'm going to read it directly. Ethereum is a decentralized platform that runs smart contracts. Well, if you know Bitcoin, Bitcoin is more of a cryptocurrency. It's a store of value. So you have to ask yourself, what is a decentralized platform of smart contracts? And this video will get into that, and you'll see the utility value of this, and you'll see why market acceptance makes this coin so valuable, and why you'll probably see Ethereum continue to rise in the near future and beyond. Okay, so these apps run on the blockchain, and as you know, blockchain is a ledger with a series of that keeps track of accounts. So this blockchain is enormously powerful. It's a shared global infrastructure that can move value around and represent the ownership of properties. So unlike a currency, Ethereum is touting itself as a smart contract. And a smart contract can hold any type of value. For example, you can create many different types of applications with Ethereum. And if they all are centered around a value, it's reasonable to believe that a state could create an application to track VIN numbers for cars, or deeds for properties, or a medical business could do health records for patients. Uh, Insurance could do policies for owners. So you see, Ethereum is limited only by the imagination. And so when you look at Ethereum, it was started in August of 2014. It's an application development platform more than a token, and I'll show you what that means. But what it says is smart money, smart wallet. The Ethereum is a gateway to decentralized applications on the Ethereum blockchain. That means a gateway, meaning it's a starting point to get to the platform. And you'll notice that Ethereum is more of a programming language than it is. It's a programming language. It's a way to build applications on top of the blockchain itself. Going a little differently, a little deeper, you'll see Solidity is the language that powers those smart contracts. Solidity is much like JavaScript. For those of you who are programmers, JavaScript is a language that can be used on the web. It can be used in web-based applications, and so on. So Solidity has a standard called it's a coin API, and it's a series of commands that can be run within the Ethereum framework. So we talked about what kind of applications you can build, and you can understand that these are trustless contracts. All of the trust and all of the ownership properties are built within the Ethereum platform. So if you're building your application, all of that is taken care of by the platform. You just need to come up with the theme, if you will, or the project type. Again, a state could make a vehicle VIN tracking, tag tracking for automobiles, property taxes, you name it. If you can think about it, and you can come up with a way to come up with a standardized contract, Ethereum will probably fit the bill. And before I get too much deeper here, I'm sure there are people that are going to see this and say, wow, I want to build my own application, or I want to build my own token. Unfortunately, I can't help you. You can't call me and say, Sergeant Crypto, build me an application. I can't do that. What you're going to need to do is build a theme, build a team, and create a development team of your own. It takes time, it takes money, but many companies are going to do that. So if you're a CEO or a developer here and you want to be involved in a team, you can. There are places you can go to either get onto teams, or you can start building your own team. Next thing you should know is you can build a democratic, autonomous organization. So now that you've developed your idea and secured funds, what do you do next? In a normal situation, you would hire managers, find a CFO to handle the accounts, run the board meetings, and do a bunch of paperwork. Or you can make it autonomous in the application itself. You can leave all of that to the Ethereum contract, because what it does is it collects the proposals from your backers, and you submit them through a completely transparent voting process. And again, that's all in the technical details of how this works. But one of the many advantages of having a robot run your organization is that it's immune to outside influence. It can't be coerced into fraud. It'll only execute what it's programmed to do. So that's what the Ethereum network is designed to do. And it's decentralized. So it has 100% uptime. And we're going to talk about applications that have been built over time. So the applications that you can build a virtual organization where members can vote on issues, a transparent association based on shareholder voting, your own country with an unorganized or unchangeable constitution, or build a delegative democracy. They're using these $3 words, and I'm struggling, and I apologize. So that's what it is. For those of you that are developers, they have a series of command line tools. You can install those tools, and you can begin toying with it. If you want to try to build your own cryptocurrency, you don't have to do it on the live platform. They do have a testing platform, so you can test your application and build it, and then once you're ready, you can launch your own ICO and see if you can gain some market acceptance. Down here, they have more links to YouTube, the community, Reddit. You can get into finer detail. But let me go back a little bit, and I'm going to go through here and tell you the difference between Ethereum and other network type systems. So we go back in time, and you'll know that computers originally started out as single units, and you would put input in and input out. And later we moved on to local area networks, which were client-server based. Basically, you'd have either a bunch of dumb wise terminals or PCs or a collection of computers that when they needed data, they would go to a server, get that information. All the trust was held by the server. If you were a user, you had to provide a username and a password. All the security was in there. If you had the proper credentials, you could access that server and get data out. If you didn't, you were banned from being in that server. And then later on, the internet came along, and we began seeing wide area networks. And these were small networks similar to this one that were interconnected. So we have networks of networks. And that networking scheme, you'd have a local area network with the same client server. So you'd have the server here, and the clients could authenticate, and so on. And from time to time, now that there is a wider area network, if you had a router that could access across the public internet, you could then later go to a network across the internet. Basically, you would make a request. It would go to your router. Your router would say, hey, where is System A? The router would go, System A is 2 hops away. Bing, bing, here's System A. You'd get to System A. System A would see that you're a new computer. It wouldn't know whether you were able to authenticate or not. So the server would say, who are you? You'd give your username and password. If you were allowed in, you would be accepted into that network. If you were not, you would be denied and not have access to that network. So that was wide area networking. And it, in scalability, local area networks were limited in size. You'd have a finite number of computers and so on. And then with wide area networking, you still had this client server. So if a router went down, you'd lose access to this application over here or this application over here if something went down. So the next version of networking applications was known as cloud-based. And what you had, instead of networks of networks, you have now large data store centers, data centers. And you've probably seen them. Amazon has AWS, Microsoft has Azure, and so on. There are many, many different cloud vendors. You can spin up your own server, or you can just access applications that are spun up and floating on there. It uses the same client-server technology, except the server isn't local. So as long as you have an internet connection and you have access to that data center, you would authenticate to your application and you'd be connected. So along comes blockchain technology, Ethereum, and it changes the whole dynamic by doing what's called distributed apps. So as you know, Ethereum is blockchain, and Ethereum runs on top of a blockchain. And if you remember, a blockchain is a ledger, and a ledger keeps track of a series of accounts. So once you have a blockchain, all of the trust and all of the accounts and so on are managed by the blockchain. As you might recall, we have proof of work, which is miners verifying through mathematics and computations whether your transaction is good or not, or they have proof of stake. And proof of stake is another type of this term escapes me, but it's another way to authenticate your access to the blockchain. Okay, so on top of that, you would have storage and delivery. This would be where data could be stored, where content can be stored, photos, movies, and so on. So they've made that a second layer because if you started building smart contracts and stuffing movies into them or large scale sets of files into them, the blockchain, once you do your proof of work, address A now transfers the asset to asset B, and if it were to move all of that content along with it, it would make such a bottleneck, and the blockchain would be so big nobody could use it. So what they do is in the contract they build a hash, and a hash is like an address node. So it'll say, okay, address A owns this contract. It also has this content, and they put an address hash, and that address hash is pretty much, it's like a link to where the content is located. So if you're authenticated to use that contract, you also have access to all of the the storage, and so on. And the smart contract actually rides on the top. So you've got the blockchain down below, you've got the content and storage, and then Ethereum allows you, through their programming language, which is the smart contracts, to build your own small applications. Those applications reside on the top. So your application, if it's running here, and you have content and you've got users down below, and they have tokens and they're trying to access data, your application is segregated into its own little runnable space, if you will. And as long as you have tokens and ether and you're involved on this platform, you have access to this all of this data. Smart contracts still have wallets, just like Bitcoin did. So everybody gets a unique address. And so when you have these contracts and you're building them, you can transfer them to other parties. In this layer is also where the transactions happen, where identities are identified, communication between the application, and so on. And this is called a distributed app. So if you'll see, what we have is a distributed app. Anybody running the wallet now is also running these distributed applications. So you might say, well, I thought Ether was its own entity. Well, Ether is the token or the fuel that runs on top of that runs the platform. It's the gas, if you will, the fuel. So let's say you're a developer and you develop your app and the blockchain is down below. Your app, as long as you have access to the internet and there are ledgers out there that can be run, your application is visible. Your application handles all the HTML and all of the inner processing before it goes to the blockchain. Once it goes to the blockchain, they can identify who a user is, who has access to it, where it's stored, and so on. So think of Ether as an application platform more than it is a token. And ask yourself, how does this add value? Well, Ether, I believe, Ethereum will be here for a long time, as long as developers have confidence in building their applications on the platform. And I know I keep talking applications and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but there's a website you can go to where developers go, and you can see, as an investor, some of the developments that are out there. And the app is called the State of D Apps, which are distributed apps.com. And on here, you'll see that there are about 855 applications that are in development, and they're all different types. There's pyramid games, there's games, there's I'm not going to even try to read them all. There's just so many of them. You know, Blockjack, it's a gaming thing. There are developers out here that are really testing and working the space. And you have to go through here, and some of them may have value, some of them may not. And that's where market acceptance comes in. But I can tell you this, if you go to another website, and you know that Ethereum is for applications, you'll see that the applications are known. When an application is built, they create their own tokens, and they're called ERC20 tokens, or ERC20 tokens. And if you go into CoinMarketCap, you're going to see many tokens that actually run on the Ethereum platform, but they're listed as individual tokens. And some of those include EOS. Many of you have seen Tron, OMG, Salt, StorageJ, Golem. These are all actually applications that run on top of the Ethereum platform. Funfair, there are many. BitClave, Kitcoin, there are lots of them. This Explorer shows you the top 50 Ethereum tokens in the last 90 days. So this right here, it's called Explorer.io, shows you D apps that are running on top of Ethereum. And if you're looking at tokens on CoinMarketCap, you're going to want to know, how were those tokens developed? If you see the term ERC20, you'll know that it's an Ethereum-based token. So now you don't have to question the technology anymore. We know that the technology is solid, but what we don't know is, does the application itself, does it have the ability to gain market acceptance? So this makes evaluating many tokens much easier. You know the platform is solid. Now all you have to do is determine, is the team solid? Is their idea solid? Does it have the ability to gain market acceptance? And if the answer, and you can check all those boxes and say yes, it's probably a coin you want to invest in. If it's in the top 50 here, there's obviously some market acceptance going on. So you'll want to determine, what token is it? Go to CoinMarketCap, take a look at it, download its white paper, and determine, does this thing really have value? So this is the value of Ethereum. I invest in Ethereum because it's the underlying technology for many crypto altcoins, and it's solid. It's got market acceptance. It's gone from $0 to up to 1,300 in. It was just 1,300 at the beginning of January. I have no reason to believe that Ethereum is going to dry up. The only thing that we could see is scalability on the Ethereum platform, where it becomes so slow that it's not usable, but that's not the case right now. So Ethereum has good market value. And this is the reason that it's not falling quite as much. Many of the tokens underneath have fallen quite a bit, but they've only fallen because their market acceptance is not, they don't have real market value. And if they don't have real market value, they're going to fail. But that doesn't mean Ethereum will fail. That just means that application will wither away and go away. Or if it doesn't go away, since it's on the Ethereum platform and it's built into the blocks, it won't go away, but it won't have value, and it won't go any higher, and it won't get any use, and it'll just wither on the vine. If you want to know more, the Ethereum white paper's here. It's pretty dry. If you're a developer and you want to know more, or you're a CEO and you want to explore the idea of building your own DApps, please look at the white paper. You can get that at you can Google it, find the Ethereum white paper. This one happens to be a PDF. The original Ethereum white paper is not PDF. I just found one that was converted to PDF. I believe it's up to date. I believe it's I believe it's accurate. I'm Sergeant Crypto here with Crypto Team 6. That's the fundamentals of Ethereum. Ethereum is a blockchain application platform. It's not a real cryptocurrency. Its utility value is in the ability to spin off apps that have value and gain in market acceptance. I believe it's going to go higher. I believe everybody should own some. Don't put all your money into it, only what you can afford to lose. No more than 5% at any given time of all of your portfolio. Keep your Google, your Amazon, but have a little Ethereum as well. Sergeant Crypto here, Crypto Team 6 out. By the way, did you know that every day we take 1/2 of the value in our Exodus wallet and divide it into 3 parts? We then draw 3 Litecoin addresses from the tips that were given on the previous day. The first address gets 50%, the second address gets 30%, and the third address gets 20% of the proceeds. This is our way of giving back to the community that supports us. Keep watching, and thank you for your continued support. Sergeant Crypto out. Good day, everyone.